The voice behind the door. One evening, when I was home alone, I got bored and decided to invite my friend over for a sleepover. I called Emily and convinced her to come, even though she hesitated because of the cold. We agreed that she would be there soon. Half an hour passed. I heard a knock on the door and Emily's trembling voice. "Open up, I'm freezing." Her voice sounded genuinely cold and desperate. I was sure it was her since she had complained about the freezing weather earlier. My hands were wet, so I shouted for her to wait a second. But the voice behind the door repeated, "I'm freezing." With each second, it grew louder, more demanding, as if it wasn't a request but an order. I thought Emily was messing with me, so I deliberately walked to the door slowly, slightly annoyed. And then, my phone rang. Her name lit up on the screen. Confused, I answered, "I'm coming. Why are you yelling?" But Emily's voice on the phone sounded puzzled. "Coming where?" "I'm so sorry, but I can't make it tonight." I froze. I was already standing by the door, my hand reaching for the lock. My mind raced. If she's not here, then who is outside? "I'll call you back," I whispered and hung up. The house fell into an eerie silence. I stood there, my back against the door, while Emily's voice continued from the other side. "I'm freezing. Let me in. I'm freezing." It sounded like a broken record now. Trembling, I felt an unbearable urge to look through the peephole. Summoning all my courage, I stepped forward and peered through it. What I saw was indescribable. That was not Emily. That was something horrifying. It couldn't be human. Its eyes, or what should have been eyes, were hollow, empty. Its skin was pale, almost bluish, as if it had been decaying. But the worst part was its mouth. When it spoke again, its lips moved in a grotesque, unnatural way, like it was struggling to mimic human speech. I stumbled backward, my heart pounding. Then suddenly the voice stopped. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. I barely breathed. And then, scratching. It was faint at first, but it grew louder, drilling into my mind like a scream. I wanted to yell, but my throat was paralyzed with fear. The scratching turned into pounding. "I'm cold. Let me in." The voice was no longer Emily's. It was low, guttural, monstrous. The banging grew violent. I thought the door would break. I curled up against the wall, shaking, tears streaming down my face. Then, it stopped. Silence pressed against my ears. I was too terrified to move. It felt like hours had passed, though it was probably seconds. Then my phone vibrated in my trembling hands. A message. It was blank, and from an unknown number. I stared at the screen, my mind spiraling. Just then, my phone rang again. Emily. I flinched but answered. Her voice was casual. "Why are you so quiet? Is everything okay?" I tried to speak, and I could. My voice was weak and hoarse, but I managed to ask her to come over. She sensed something was wrong and agreed. As she walked to my house, we talked on the phone. Slowly, I started calming down. I even managed to stand up and take a few steps. When she told me she was in my building, I finally exhaled in relief. The doorbell rang. No knocking. Just the bell. Without hesitation, I ran to the door, wiping away my tears. I wanted nothing more than to hug her and finally feel safe. I swung the door open and froze. That thing was standing there, holding my dead friend in its arms.
Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any new creepy legends and mystical tales. There's a lot more to come, so stay tuned and be ready for more encounters with the unknown. Look out for the next story.